Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to, it's hard to believe, our last TATT chat of June. The 4th of July holiday is right upon us, and that's always, for our country, for a very important um, time. And, you know, the whole aspect that Dean Hebel was going on vacation. I can't believe that at some point he is going on vacation here soon. He seems like he is working all the time. Maybe he'll let Justine off too. I don't know.
The week, as soon as he gets back. As soon as he gets
good.
back, I'm gone.
Yeah,
Well, good. Well,
we are tag team in vacation.
All right, great. Well, with it being Thursday, almost Friday, and hopefully we can get to the holidays very soon. At least we're getting to the weekend. I'm very pleased today. We were just talking before we went live about regionalism, and I do think that um, um, the things that we have in Upstate, we're very fortunate to all be within driving areas of very good event space and entertainment. And that goes from baseball to hockey. We're very fortunate to be near an airport that gets us to and from all over the country. And today we have Beth Paul, who's the general manager of Bonsai Wellness Area. She is also a Anderson native, T.O. Hanna grad, and it's always good to have a homegirl that we can call a friend. So with that, I will turn it over to Beth.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Roberts, and thank you all for having me here today and giving me an opportunity to talk about the return of live events. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, and so I was going to just say a few words and then leave it open for conversation and questions should there be any. So, you know, I think for starters, but before we look at the future of events, I'll just kind of recap what has happened to our industry since March of 20. We ended up shutting down the arena on March the 10th of 2020. And just this past week is when we resumed to a almost normal operation, so 15 months. So it was incredibly impactful, not to just our arena, but all of the ancillary benefits that come with an arena, you know, hotel room nights, accommodations taxes, fiscal impacts, all those things that we measure. It was really detrimental to those as well. So the live industry as a whole is a $34 billion industry per year. And it is estimated that the industry as a whole lost between 90 and 94% of its revenue during COVID. And so, you know, I kind of like to say shutting down was very hard. It was incredibly difficult to do, and very difficult decisions were made. I think the future of events is how successful we are at reopening. I tell my staff, we hope that the hard part is behind us. Let's not burn up on reentry. And it's been very, it's challenging to get back into a good cadence with all your relationships with your partners and with your staff. And so that's what we're really focused on to now. So, you know, again, we'll back up a little bit. Like we were in a total shutdown mode from March until about November. So we used that time to start planning for a modified reopening. We really focused in on two areas. One was some engineered controls, how do we modify the facility itself to be a safe environment when we are able to reopen. And then the second part was what processes and policies do we need to change to make sure that it's safe. So Greenville County, we were recipients of some CARES Act funding from Greenville County, which was absolutely crucial in our ability to reopen. We used those funds to invest in technology that would create a contactless environment, touchless environment that would improve our air quality, that would allowed us funding for PPE, for additional cleaning equipment, additional technology, all of the engineered controls that we needed to reopen. And then we focused on policy, really not knowing what it was going to look like when we reopened. We had Plan A, B, C, D, and E, and I'm not really sure we executed any of those, but so we worked, that's what we did from March to November, worked very hard on these policy changes in reimagining the live event experience. In November, we reopened. We had to also reimagine the business plan. We weren't able to sell tickets in a typical fashion. The nature of our business is to be together and to be communal, and we were unable to do that. We really focused in on serving our community in terms of graduations. That was something we were able to do very successfully in a modified operation or modified capacity. So we did those through November. For some collegiate graduations. In December, we were the first professional sports team to return to play after the shutdown. Greenville Swamp Rabbits had a preseason game early in December, and it was very unnerving. I questioned many things. Was it the socially responsible thing to do? Was it from a business perspective the right thing to do? But we did it, and we did it very successfully because of the timing, the time we took between March and November to plan. And so kind of how the arena itself remained successful through COVID was to leverage any opportunity we had. So we did, of course, graduations. We did Anderson County, we did Greenville County, did Clemson graduations. We had a few live events that we were able to do in a modified capacity with pod seating. We did learn really quickly that there was enough consumer confidence to return to live events with the proper strategies in place. So we were able to host Mike Epps, professional bull riding, and Toby Mack in that modified capacity. We're very successfully, and finished out the Greenville Swamp Rabbit season just last week. They had a very successful year. And so the future is incredibly bright for live events. I think if you look at not only in Greenville and not just nationally, but internationally, live events are coming back, and they're coming back strong in enormous numbers that we haven't seen in years, which is all wonderful news. So I think this year, in the next 12 months, we will do between 30 and 35 concerts. We'll continue to do the Swamp Rabbits. We'll have another successful season here. We'll do our host of family shows. And of course, what Mayor Roberts mentioned earlier is the real regionalism comes into play when you talk about Bassmaster Classic in March and the NCAA tournament in March. Events of that caliber, they're both nationally televised. They require enormous partnership. Bassmaster, of course, is a partnership with Anderson County and Greenville County and our respective CBBs. And then the NCAA first and second round basketball tournament is also a collaboration with Furman University as the host institution, as well as the Southern Conference, which is based in Spartanburg. So more so than ever, we are able to highlight the region when we have events of that size. With that said, with that level of activity, there are challenges. There are obstacles that pop up every day. And I will say the majority of those obstacles are coming back down to workforce development, and getting people ready for work and trained for work. So we'll continue down those recruitment strategies, retention strategies, how to make the Bonsai Wellness Arena the most desirable place to work in Greenville, certainly from a variable labor perspective. It trickles down. If we look at the touring industry, they're ready to come back, they're ready to hit the road, and then you have to look at the factors that are going to could possibly negatively impact touring. The pandemic itself, the nature of touring is that you live on buses, you work very closely together, you go from city to city. So while it feels like we are all moving in the right direction, touring is a very risky engagement to begin with. Gas prices are something that always impact touring, but we have to really keep our eye on how much it costs for a truck to get from one city to the next. And then you multiply that by 70, that really drives things from an economics perspective. Supply chain, we will start to see issues there, not only on the touring side, but certainly on the venue side in terms of food and beverage, being able to have quick repairs and replacements in the facility when needed. So all these things that have always been on our mind but maybe not top of mind, and that could really, really impact our ability to produce successful live events. I think that I think the key to getting the workforce that we need is to work with a lot of partners too. We have one thing I did learn throughout the pandemic is that Greenville is the live event organizers in Greenville, most specifically the Peace Center, the Greenville Triumph, and the Greenville Drive, and ourselves worked really closely together to make sure that we had a consistent message when we reopened, that we shared ideas about how to keep our fans safe and healthy during the pandemic. We shared ideas about staffing, how to keep our staff engaged and safe and healthy, and maneuvering through some really difficult decisions that had to be made. So that was something, of course, that we learned from, and then we'll continue those relationships continue those discussions as things continue to evolve. So, we can talk specifically about events. I mean, we're really excited. I think the lineup that we have is tremendous. I think that, we kind of define success in a number of ways. One way we define that is having a diverse lineup. So I think you'll see, probably more so than ever, this year's lineup starting in July has music, comedy, sports, family, wrestling, corporate events, community events. Very broad appeal. And then we're also really focusing in on the Latin market and the African American market, making sure that we're having the appropriate number of events and the high quality events that all of the citizens in the Upstate deserve to have. We focus on numbers. I think we will generate approximately 120 to 125 events this fiscal year. Economically, that will result in approximately $60 million on the region from an economic impact perspective. And that $60 million number does not include Bassmaster and CAA. That would be in a more normalized, stable year without those two national events. We'll continue our charge while we do commercial events. We will also stay committed to reinvesting our time and our resources into the community and its critical needs. At the end of the day, we do live entertainment, but the Bonsai Wellness Arena must have substance, even when there are no events. We learned that the hard way, and so we try to keep a strong strategy, a tremendous amount of momentum to serve those who are not able to come to live events. In fact, at the end of the day, not everybody can come to live events, and so we make sure that we offer this facility and our resources in other ways. Partnerships with Habitat for Humanity. We build an arena house here every year, and we'll continue to do that. We do it on site and then move it. We work with Loaves and Fishes. We have a food rescue program. Prior to the pandemic, we were on pace to, I believe, rescue 6,000 pounds of food that goes to the local food banks and churches around the area. We also do the same with Harvest Hope as the local food bank here in Greenville County. We're going to forge a relationship with Project Host to also work on the food insecurities in Greenville. We have a strong relationship with Upstate Warrior Solution, so that again, if there's anything that we can do to help any nonprofit really, but further their mission, we will do so. It's very important to our leadership team and all the staff here that we are more than just producing live events. We want to be relevant in our communities and have a dedicated commitment to do so. So I think in closing, the next 12 months are going to be exciting. Some days I feel like I'm building the plane as I'm flying it, as we reopen and as we, see new challenges and new hurdles every day with staffing, with supply chain, with the economics. We have to make sure that we can sell the tickets that are on sale. Make sure that the people are employed and have money to buy those. We stay committed to the community through the fiscal impacts, the economic impacts, and the outreach impact that we can have. And of course, more than ever, we're committed to the safety and well-being of all of our fans. We have to make sure that they're confident when they come here, that all of our guests, their families, and their friends are safe, that we are creating a safe environment to enjoy live entertainment. So I could not be more happy to get back to work. And it's going to be a really amazing year for the arena district, not just the arena district, but for all of the arts, and anytime, any place where people gather for live entertainment and recreation. I think it's going to be a phenomenal year for all of us. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Well, great. Thank you, Beth. There's a lot to unpack there. Let's start maybe with kind of the events and those pieces first, and then we'll get into some, because you threw out a bunch of different areas. What is the percentage of capacity that you guys have been at so far, and are you nearing getting to 100%, or how does that look, and what are those numbers looking like?
We opened in November of 2020. We were at approximately 25%. Each state did things very differently. Our state had a mandate of a gathering of more than 250 required approval, and it was 50% or 6 foot of social distancing between acquainted parties, whichever is less. So 6 feet, if you put 6 feet in between each party, you get to about 25% of the arena. So we, at our maximum capacity is 15,000. Some shows were even less. So Mike Epps, for instance, was 4,000. Hockey was a little less than that. And then, there were a couple of different, follow-up executive orders, et cetera. We are now at a place where we could sell 100% capacity. We don't have a show yet that would require 15,000 seats. The first one will likely be Eric Church in December. However, all shows that are going to occur from this point forward or go on sale from this point forward will not have any social distance seating.
Okay, good. That makes sense. You mentioned, and one of the things we learned in one of our presentations a long time ago, very early in the pandemic, was about air quality and the air within indoor arenas. You mentioned that you guys have done some upgrading there. Describe what that looks like.
So the end result was investment into ionization. So you put that technology into your air handlers, and it sort of purifies the air as it pushes through. And the other mechanism we use is just more fresh air makeup. So we, until that technology was put in, we were just pushing a whole lot more fresh air through the facility. So those two things combined. And then, I guess the third piece was for instance, backstage, they are now on their own sort of air handling system. So all of the back, and with their own ionization technology. The same with like the suite level, all of that is on one unique system. So I think that probably the missing piece is actually measuring it. We haven't gotten there yet, but the technology should, and that was one of the focuses too. We wanted to invest in things that would live beyond COVID, and so that technology is just good to have in the facility.
Sure. And you mentioned, the number of events, and I'm sure, you always have some staples, some, folks who come every year. Are you seeing most of those, ready to return back, or are you having some, holes to fill, and then second part of that question is, are there any acts that in the past maybe you weren't able to secure that maybe now are looking at a venue of the size of the arena for something in the near term?
It seems like, we went through a period when people were starting to reopen where we were actually running out of dates to offer people. We didn't have date availability and had to turn some shows away. We do have our country music. We try to keep at least 25 days between each country music act, and I think that you will see that at least 25 days from probably starting in September through June. You'll see a country music show about every 25 to 30 days. One show that we have not yet, or one genre that we have not yet been able to secure up until this year, was a really strong Latin artist. And so on August the 6th, we'll do our first Hispanic show. It's a Mexican band, Banda MS, and they're touring in major markets all over the country, but not so much in tertiary. So we're really excited about that, and the market has responded really, really well to that show. I would encourage any of you who have not listened to that band to go do so. It's just incredible music, incredibly talented folks in that band. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with COVID. Perhaps it did, because we were aggressive in chasing shows when other people just really didn't have enough visibility on what the future would look like. So I think what you'll see is, because South Carolina, we were in a position to be more aggressive. We're doing more shows in July, August, September, October than perhaps some other markets, because we started to remarket the facility, back in January.
You mentioned social impact and social responsibility. I was involved with Greenville Can for a long time, and you guys have been engaged with disabilities and special needs support. You offered in the past, people could walk around the arena and things of that nature. When is some of the public opportunities to utilize the facility that are not events, when do you foresee that coming back, or is it already back?
It's back. We actually started well walkers we started in the summer of 20. There was a real need for people to get recreation and get outside, and we had plenty of space, and neither us nor our partners felt there was significant risk in reopening for well walkers, and so we were able to provide a safe space for recreation. And you're right. And now we have not yet gotten back to some of the group homes or the groups that would come from some of the individuals with disabilities. They have not yet come back to that Well Walkers program, but I think we will see that in time. And we were, throughout the pandemic, we have a great relationship with Greenville Can and some of the entities that assist in hiring or creating a space, a workplace for individuals with disabilities. And so, we had 100% of them return thus far. And so we're really excited about having those individuals back into the workforce and filling very meaningful jobs for us.
Great. I will say, for anyone, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat for Beth. As you look towards, long term, you said, the future is very bright for in-person events. I think, people are just, ready to get back to some semblance of normalcy. But it sounds like you're optimistic that obviously, the health, components we can't predict or control, but assuming that things move to a level as they're advancing currently, it sounds like you are feeling like you all can get back to the same level of success and a number of people coming through the doors that you've had historically.
Yes, and we kept, we as an industry as a whole knew that the key to us reopening was the rollout of a successful vaccination, and as we see those numbers increase, it makes us more confident. So yes, I think that we will get back to those pre-COVID numbers, and I think we'll get back there really quickly. And it's interesting to watch in the industry, state by state. There are certain, the Foo Fighters played in June, or played 4 nights ago at Madison Square Garden, first major live concert indoors. And certain states will require, or certain venues require proof of vaccination. Others don't. So there's so many still polarizing topics that will come up, and how do you safely return to live events? That's not something we are doing, nor will we, but it is something that's taking place in some other states. So it's really interesting to watch. And from a touring perspective, that's also what was tricky in getting groups back on the road. Is I think most states have pretty much opened at this point, but touring is successful because it's critical it's critical mass, it's critical volume. And so if you could only tour in 4 states, you're not going to be very successful. Right. And so, you know, if you had to drive 1,500 miles to the next city, that's just, you know, you're just losing money on those 4 days that it takes to get there.
Right, sure. We have a question about workforce, which you've mentioned a couple times. Have you been able to hire staff for your live events? Jim Shue asked the question and says he understands that other who hire seasonal and event-based staff have had difficulty filling those positions. Have you seen that yet? Have you, with the hockey and things, have you had enough events that you kind of know where you stand from a staffing standpoint?
We do. So when we closed in March of 20, our head count was about between 375 and 400. It got down to 8. And then now I was one of those 8. And then now we are back to about 150, 160 head count. And based on employee surveys, it is not, and it is really increasing week over week. We're in a really good spot. We're going to have to continue to stay focused on it. I think the biggest, again, based on the feedback we received in surveys, it was because our employee base was just not ready to come back because of the pandemic. It's not that they wanted to be home. They were not, you know, it wasn't because of some extra stipends or unemployment benefit. It was because they didn't feel safe. And as they became back, we saw a big jump when the vaccinations started to get rolled out of people coming back to work. They got their 2 shots, they waited their 2 weeks, and they were ready to come back. And then, you know, I think a lot of it had to do with some, you know, coming back as we made more investment into the building. They were excited to come back. You know, I think standing in a group of 5,000 people is a tough ask of people sometimes too, right? Of staff.
Yeah,
so.
it will definitely be interesting to see that dynamic. I was at the Greenville Drive game the other day, and it felt very normal, you know, with a couple thousand people. But of course, that's an outside place, and you can kind of, you know, have a level of distancing without too much challenge. It's a little bit different when you get a big event at your venue, because there is, you know, more mass in there. So, you know, it will be interesting to see the level of comfort. But I think part of what people want to know and hear is exactly what you've said, which is, you know, you're being thoughtful and making every effort to be as safe as possible. And then it's individual choice that goes from there.
And we actually did, you know, with the second round of the playoffs, we did a hybrid approach. Really, we had 3 or maybe 4 sections that was still pod seating, where you could choose to sit there and know that there was not going to be anybody around you, front, back, or side, within 6 feet. Or you could choose to sit directly adjacent to someone you may or may not know. And overwhelmingly, people wanted to be close to the ice with their friends, with the opportunity to make new friends, and they did not choose to sit in those socially distanced seating sections. It's not lost on me that some people like it. Well, there's 2,000 people in here. What's the difference, right? But it seemed to work out well, and most of the people who did want to sit there were very appreciative of it.
Well, I mean, it's something that will kind of play out over time, certainly. So, well, we really appreciate you taking time to be with us. I think we're all glad that events are back, that you guys, did such a good job of diligence of really improving things during the time when you were not able to have events, and have been strategic in how you roll out getting back to having people in your venue and events happening. And we all look forward to getting to be in the arena soon for one of the many events you have. And if you can, after you're done talking, if you can put the schedule in the chat with the link to the events that you guys have, that will give everybody a chance to see, if they haven't already, the events that you have coming up. So Beth, again, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure. So with that, Mayor, I am going to actually yield my time today to Erin Ouzts, who is going to share an exciting update about some work that's been done over the last 6 months, really around entrepreneurship. So Erin, I will turn it over to you.
Great, Dean, thank you very much. Now I'm going to share my screen. But before I do that, as Dean said, we've been working for about the past 6 months to create a website or a resource navigator that will allow our entrepreneurs and the people who help entrepreneurs to find whatever kind of resource they may need. So, and it is called startgrowupstate.com. So that is the website. So if anyone is asking you, well, where do I go to find information? Sorry, let me see if I can get to my site. Here we go. Where do I go to find information? How do I find out how to get a business license? You can send them to startgrowupstate.com. But this is the website here, and I am very happy to be able to present it to you today. Justine Allen has been a very important part of making this happen too. And I'm going to give you a short demo to explain to you how it works. This is the front page, startgrowupstate.com, to get there. And we wanted to make it very, very easy for people to find what they're looking for. So right at the very beginning, we put in a search bar. And then if you scroll down a little bit further and you say, I'm not really sure what I'm looking for, then you can click on some of these buttons about programs, people, or events. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, there's a little bit of explanation about how to use the site. And then a little bit further, there are a few events, and you'll see the featured event today is the TATT chat. This is kind of a random thing, so I'm glad to see that the TATT chat is the featured event for us. And then that's the front page. But what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a search, and I'm going to search for a business plan. And you will see that I've got business plan and startup business plan in here. We have found that more broader searches get you better results. So I've typed in business plan, and I'm going to click search. And then it immediately brings up these boxes of resources and all kinds of different programs that you can go to or click on that can help you with a business plan. And if you can see my scroll bar over here, we're not even halfway down. So I'm going to speed to the bottom, and you'll see how many resources we do have in the upstate in our 10 counties for business plans. But if you decide you're interested in one of these programs, you click on it and you can immediately go to their website. And that's the point, is to get you to that organization's website. But it tells you a little bit about Community Works, the program, and then it tells you about who the hosting organization is. And this hosting organization is Community Works. And if you click on Community Works, it brings you to information about Community Works. You can visit their website, but you can also meet some Community Works folks. So we have some embedded videos where if you click on the video, you will see that you get to meet the executive director, Tammy Hoy Hawkins, and have her explain directly about what they do.
My name is Crawford Reeves, and I'm here with Tammy Hoy Hawkins with Community Works. And Tammy, tell me a little bit about Community Works and what all you guys do.
Absolutely. So we have these videos in a few of the organization profiles, not all of them, but we are working on filling those up. Then, if we want to search in a slightly different way, we can go to a tab called Explore. And this one is really great for a much broader search if you're not really sure. And you'll see that it's organized by tabs, like for file folders. Right now, industry is the highlighted one, and you'll see that there are a variety of resources on the outside of that folder. But we are going to go to who you are. And I'm using this because so that you can see if you have some underserved populations or founders of color in your community and you don't know where to send them, here's a great resource for that. But we are who you are. We're going to click on founders of color. And you will see that this is resources for founders of color. And there's also a place to submit a resource. This particular website is self-updating. We did not have to put all the data in. It is self-updating. It's runs on a somewhat of a little bit of an AI algorithm. So we know it doesn't have everything. So we are looking, we have in many places made it easy for you to submit resources. But you will see for these founders of color, we have Hispanic lending programs, programs for Black artists, Commission of Minority Affairs, multiple programs. They are in alphabetical order. So if you are looking for something for a county that starts with a P, like Pickens, you will have to scroll down a little bit more. But that's only one part of this page. The other part of this page is this area over here called filters. And within this, you can narrow it down. So I'm going to click on audience, and you'll see there's a variety of types of audiences that we can narrow it to or filter it by. But I'm going to click on Latinx founders, and you'll see immediately the resources changed. We still have the Accesso custom business loan. We dropped the Black artists program, but we also have, this also highlights much more clearly, like the Hispanic Contractors of the Carolinas, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Entrepreneur Empowerment Series. If you didn't know these things were available, now you can find them, and you will know where to send entrepreneurs that are looking for help, especially in a language that we may not have a lot of programming in. So the other, and then at the very end of this page, if we scroll way down, there's more, having trouble finding what you need. So there's some information about how to change your filter or try your searches, but there's also, if you need more information, there's another form down here that you can click on to help to send Justine and I information about what you're looking for that you can't find. But something that you can use every day is the events tab. So I've clicked on events, and this is our Start Grow events calendar. We are in the month of June. You'll see that we've already had a lot of events this month. And on today, we have a TATT chat. But earlier today, you could learn to create YouTube videos that attract new customers. And this is sponsored by the Small Business Development Center. So if we click on it, it tells us the title of the program, this date and the time, and then the sponsor is the Small Business Development Center, and then the link to it. So I'm going to close this up. We have many types of events here in our Upstate. When we rolled it out to the entrepreneur support providers, they said that they thought this was great because then they could organize. They could look at this to make sure that they aren't overlapping with training or overlapping with timing. So I'm going to go home and tell you, if people email you and they want to know where to find things, startgrowupstate.com is where you should send them. And I'm actually going to take some questions. There's so much more to the site, but I just want to take your questions right now. And I guess you can put them in chat, or you can, I don't mind if you raise your hand. But Dean, if anybody has any questions.
Well, Erin, thank you. And Justine, if you can put the website, Start Grow Upstate website in the chat, everybody can click to it if they haven't already. So, you know, it's something that in the 12 years I've been here, there's been this struggle with, you know, a perception of, well, there's no resources or very limited resources for someone who wants to start or grow a business in the Upstate. And every time you hear that comment, you know, I know you cringe and I cringe a little bit, because the reality is there are so many resources. It's just been a matter of access and finding resources. So obviously building the site is the first step, but unfortunately the site doesn't just jump automatically onto everybody's phone who's looking to start or grow a business. What is the strategy for sharing, besides events like this, but ways that people can help with growing awareness of Start Grow Upstate and this resource, so more people who are looking to be entrepreneurs or small business owners looking to find some kind of service that they need can utilize this information and resource?
Good question, Dean. And because yes, we all know that if you build it, they do not come, at least a website. So we have worked with Smoke PR to develop a long-term kind of promotional plan. We've already had some good press on the site. They're pushing out a lot of social media. We are doing demos, not only like at the TATT chats, but if you would like me to do a demo at any of your meetings, I'm more than happy to do that. We are also doing, we also have, if you want to put a button on your website, and we will have a campaign a little bit later on this year, link to resources, or I can't remember the name of the campaign. It was much cuter than link to resources, where we're going to do a campaign to different organizations to ask them to link the resource navigator to their website, for cities and counties. If you want more information about where to find entrepreneurial resources to start or grow your business, click here, that kind of a thing. We are, what else are we doing, Justine? Well, this will be going on for a year, because we know that if we just have to get users, we are asking you, what you can do is please send this to people. If someone asks you, just say, oh, go to Start Grow Upstate, feature it in your newsletters, feature it in meetings on your website. Those are all things that you can do. And again, I can come in and do demos for you as well. And one other thing, Dean, I would like to show everybody, and that is the registrations piece. This is something that most folks don't think about when I'm going to move all of y'all over. When you think about starting or growing a business, if we go to Explore and resource type, if we scroll down here, you'll see there's something called registration. And for those of you who have businesses, you understand, how many permits and registrations you have to go through just to be, I don't want to say legal, to run your business. But so we have that in here, but we also have vendor registrations. So if you want to do business with the County of Anderson, this is where you would go to register to be a vendor. City of Abbeville business license application, contractor business license application, City of Anderson business licenses. This is a great resource for that. Just those kind of foundational, fundamental pieces of things that business owners have to do to make themselves legitimate in the eyes of the government.
Perfect. Well, and we need to move on to the next segment, but Erin, thank you so much for everything. Please explore the site. If you have, as Erin said, if you have outlets to get the word out to other people, we definitely appreciate you doing that. And hopefully you'll continue to see more information about Start Grow Upstate. And I think this resource hopefully will be of value for people who are starting and growing businesses in the Upstate.
And Dean, thank you for letting me showcase it today.
Absolutely. So Justine, I'll turn it over to you.
All righty, thank you very much. I did put in the chat, but I had to mention that when Erin does the demo, usually she has people pull their phones out too, but we didn't have that much time today. So it is a really good, the phone platform does work really well too. And of course, we'll keep working on it and updating it, and it's very exciting. We're really excited. Okay, let's talk about just events very quickly. We, of course, have TATT Chats starting again July 15th. We're taking a little week break for the holidays. And our TATT Reconnects, I will put the link into the chat if you'd like to register for some TATT Reconnects as well. Our Elevate Upstate Grant Workshop is coming up July 14th. And we have some really fun events. August 30th is our, I can never get the order right, Brews, Blues, and Barbecue. That's going to be an outside networking event, music, obviously, brews, blues, and barbecue. And then Peak for Young Professionals is really happening for real on September 27th, downtown Greenville. So feel free to take a look at those. And I think we only have one of our resource updates today. I don't see James online, but that gives Aileen Gallagher more time from the Phoenix Center.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. I was going to be here with my coworker, Mike McLean, who handles all of our outreach, but he had another meeting to jump onto, so I'm going to share his part. My name is Aileen Gallagher, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for the Family Effect. We're the registered 501c3 nonprofit in support of the Phoenix Center. So I was just going to give you a brief overview of Phoenix Center services. The Phoenix Center is the Greenville County Commission on Drug and Alcohol Abuse. So all the major counties in South Carolina have one. In Spartanburg, it's known as the Forrester Center. But we all have different services. So we have an inpatient detox, medical detox. We have outpatient services for adults and adolescents. Our outpatient for adolescents also goes to children as young as 6, and we treat for mental health needs beyond substance use risk factors. And so we utilize a psychiatrist from Prisma Health if needed. We have a medication assisted treatment center, so utilizing drugs like methadone and Suboxone for opioids and alcohol to help with withdrawals and cravings. Serenity Village is kind of our flagship program. It's a residential treatment program for mothers, which is really unique. The women in the program are pregnant and or have preschool age children with them. You may have seen in the last 10 at the top newsletter, we were highlighted. One of our clients, Duchess, she's a graduate and she's also now a staff member at Serenity Place. And so her story was in the last newsletter. It's really moving. We accept Medicaid, Blue Cross, Blue Shield insurance, a bunch of different ones. But one of the great things about the Phoenix Center is that over 60% of our clients are uninsured. But we treat people regardless of their insurance status or ability to pay. So no one is ever turned away. We offer drug screening services for companies who may need that for their employees. We accept employer referrals for substance use. We help people with their CDL driver's license and returning to work. And Mike McLean does free consultations, and I'll share his contact information in the chat. So the Family Effect, like I said, we're the registered 501c3 nonprofit, as the Phoenix Center is quasi-governmental. So we handle all of the volunteering, financial donations and in-kind donations in support of those programs. So we have volunteers who come just one time, and we have volunteers who come on a really regular basis. So we're really open to any level of volunteer that people may be interested in, and I'll share that information in the chat as well. So we are supported through grants and private donations. We have our annual fundraisers in May every year, the Transformation Breakfast, but we have smaller events throughout the year. Next month, we'll be announcing a scholarship fund through a partnership with Mackey Mortuary for individuals in our adult outpatient who do not have the ability to pay. So this program will help to cover those people. So this is a public fund that any company or individual can donate to, but we also are open to the conversation of scholarship funds to support other programs, like I mentioned. So that is kind of the very brief overview. We're trying to get into about 4 minutes, so please let me know if you have any questions.
I know it's hard. You all do so many things, and then I ask, oh, can you do it in 3 to 5 minutes? A- Aileen, congratulations too on the opening of the new building this week. That was an exciting event. And I know Mike had to go, but I thought it was really interesting when I think when he was at a TATT Reconnect, he talked about the mobile unit that can go out. So if you're having some kind of event or you just want to have something at your facility that can bring about awareness, how would people, can you just talk for just a second about that?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about that. So we did just get a mobile prevention unit, which is the only one of its kind in the United States. So it's really exciting. It has activities that are fun, but also educational. So basically it's a mobile unit that we can take anywhere to educate people so they don't have to come through our doors to hear our message. Of course, we do have public tours on a regular basis, which Mike leads, and I did share his email in the chat. But if you would also be interested in getting our trailer out, Mike is also the person to contact. And it's free of charge, and it's just a really great opportunity to educate your staff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate
you.
you telling us about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if Dean doesn't have anything more, happy 4th of July, and I will let Mayor Terrence Roberts close us out.
Thank you, Justine. I had to get mobile, but I'm still here in a car. I'm not driving, but I'm just sitting. But I do. It's always good to hear what's going on in Upstate, and thank you to our partners at Secours and just Erin and just the update that we just had on the Phoenix Center. There's so many things going on in Upstate, and it's just good to be a resident. So I hope everybody has a very good 4th of July, and we'll see you in July. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mayor. Bye, everybody.